to put all this puzzle together is very difficult. It's almost like impossible. But I was so lucky that I was able to bring a good friend of mine who's been my DOP in Hong Kong for 15 years. And he's like a DOP/director. And his name is Poon Hang Sang. And because he and I worked on a lot of action movie before, so we understand, what is required. And so that really helps me because I have sometimes had to leave one scene for him to shoot, and then I have to come in to do the close-ups, of the actor. That means I have to really trust him. So I think the tools that we use is two things. We spend a lot of weekends, in my hotel room and then work out the routine. Because he himself is a very expert martial artist. And then in Hong Kong, we always do the same thing. We work out the routine, how to block, how to kick, how to fight, and all that. And then we have a very good storyboard, a drawer, and then illustrate, so that throughout the weekend we work out everything. And then he go out and just execute. And that way, first of all, I have the trust, and I feel more confidence, more relaxed that, okay, it's all on paper now. It's done. It's good. We test it out already.
Okay. Well, we ready? We have speed? Yeah. And light him up. He's lit. And action! Action! Ready? And turn left.
Bring up flame pad. Bring up flame pad.
It was a new twist on a full burn that I had never done in the past. Glenn Ennis, who doubles Ken Kersinger, who is Jason, had to walk probably about 75 feet, fully engulfed in flames. And what the problem that presented to us was he became blind after so many feet. So we actually put a radio and an earwig in his ear and lit him on fire, gave him actions, and I actually, over the radio, watching the monitor, guided him through the cornfield. He would get to a certain mark that I had penciled on the screen, and I would say, veer left, and he would veer left. Another 20 feet, I'd say, veer right, and he would veer right. And he walked through this whole thing, walked right to my safety guys who had the CO2 canisters, hit the ground, and we put him out. So that was kind of a challenge on that one, but it worked out very, very well in the end. Okay, Glenn, coming up. Come on up, Glenn.
Yeah, it gets a little toasty at times.
Apple box coming in.
My job is just to get beat up, burnt, abused.
Yeah, Tim, you guys can move.
Jason gets no respect, basically, even from the kids he later killed. They should know better by now.
Camera! And reaction one. Woo. What?
I just kind of enlarge what they've already established to a point where Ronnie Yu is happy and Poon Hang Sang, our second unit director. I just try and make it as big as possible and let them tell me when to stop.
The second unit is almost shooting parallel with us. And so that I have to really work, really close with the second unit director and the cameraman and also the stunt people to get what I envisioned. There's a lot of involved on fire, water, explosions, car crash, machetes.
It's not real kids, it's just fake.
Cutting out, body parts. And all that different part, require a lot of precision, designs. And so that the storyboard is really help. And also the second unit director been working with me in Hong Kong for many years. So that's sort of trust. It's very, very, very important.
Okay, that's the 65. That's the wrong lens. 32. 32.
Poon, we're getting a little boxed in here with a guy on fire killing 3 people with a machete. We need to keep so much space. I mean, he's got a radius of 8 feet. We're just encroaching now in the back.
Where you want the space where you want. You just can rehearse and see what the space far away.
Fine. I mean, you want to be back here? Could this be the end of the track?
Yeah, that would be good, right?
Yeah,
if the camera's
great.
Okay.
That's fine.
So the camera track will be like the camera-wise, starting here. So when the guy comes in, it gets here, and then when the second guy, so he's moving, so moving like this. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
That's fine.
So,
Now, can this carry through, Chuck?
I can carry that through.
What if we carry that through to give him the spinning? There you go. There you
I'll
go.
be stopping there.
There you go.
This is our safety route here, so nothing in here. There's going to be 2 safety people, and that's it. We're going to have 1 safety man on the other side, which is Owen, just beside it. Nobody else should be here. Just give us lots of room. We have boxed him in, so this is a little dicey on our side. If Glenn gets in any trouble, he's hitting the deck before the end of the shot. If that happens, what I need this dolly to go to the end of the track, and everybody with it. When Glenn finishes a routine, he's going to hit the deck right here, and we're on him. The moment he makes his move to hit the deck, we got to move that thing to the end of the track at the same time. Leave it there. Once he's out, we're going to pick him up and we're going to walk in this direction. Right where Kathy is our safe spot. That's where we'll stop. Once we're clear there, then we can clean up in here. But once again, just let us do what we got to do, and we'll all be safe.
Ready and action. Ready and swing. Shuffle left or shuffle right, Glenn. Hit you in the beer and cut. In you guys go.
I always miss the beer.
Move the dolly.
Move the dolly, guys.
Yeah.
When he hits this,
Yeah.
I had to get down a little
Yeah,
here
right, okay.
to make it.
You can come back up.
So do you want me to get hit? Like, can you hear it?
Yeah, right. The whole idea is you sense all this blood coming up to the almost it's under pressure, then you fell. It's not the way that's just cut, blood come up and you fell. Then we won't see anything, right?
Okay. I will stay here a lot longer and then.
Yeah,
once it
it's try
stops,
to make a, you know, try to make drama reasonable.
knock
and
some of this stuff over or whatever.
it's okay, no problem. You can put up something, right?
Okay.
Okay.
All good.
Okay. Up the camera set that.
This is being used for all the fire stunts that Jason goes through. Thickening up some areas in the mask just to make sure that the stunt doesn't have any problems with any hot spots on the mask. This is a silicone mask. When the masks are actually put together, the Nomax hoods are embedded within the silicone, so it's just basically double the protection. Those that silicone plugs are actually gaskets that go or are actually custom made to the mask. It actually creates a seal so that the actor is completely encased with the breathing apparatus that's contained within the mask.
Because you keep getting
I'm just going to do a little bit on your shoulder blades. Not
Okay.
at all in the back.
That's good.
too brittle to do other stuff.
Exactly. Put enough there.
Shouldn't have told you it was the last one.
So we put it in the fridge.
Packed it nice.
We're feeding it to make sure it was.
I know it's a good thing.
Get that body temperature.
Although, when my head was hot the other day, that felt really good. Yeah, full of it on there. It's the best thing.
So that's why I'm getting
It holds the gel. I stayed scruffy on purpose so it would just, keep a nice thick support structure for the gel. Yep.
Let's do up the front of that fire suit, guys. Okay? Pushing it in.
Yeah.
You're connected. Yeah, Brett, where's Leslie? Glenn, you can help there.
Oh, actually.
I'm gonna hold these tubes up. Oh, totally on push that down.
I'm ready.
Just got my hand in there. I'm just gonna push that tube up, Glenn. There.
Okay.
Is it in? Okay. I got her here. So Glenn, they've got accelerants on either side of the path when you're walking down. You want to go to the left or the right, doesn't matter. Oh, these guys got visuals on you all the way down there. Don't come right in the middle of the path because you'll have the hay on either side. And last one of the day, it's late. Just be safe on it.
They're here. Let's use them.
Careful, will you?
So did you get the carpet turkey at home?
Oh, there's no.
What did you just paint it? What did you just paint it?
Oh, this is just.
Oh, this is spray glue. We're just tacking down the wardrobe, so it doesn't come loose, and so you don't see the edge of the prosthetic.
It's a major embarrassment for us.
Yes.
If you can see what's underneath, then they'll know it's fake.
These are our, what the guys at the shop made us, JP, and these will fit for our stuntmen, for women, like that, and the wardrobe goes over top. The hose connects. This is a blood rig and an open wound. The slash happens off camera. His back would be towards camera. Jason would come with a machete, cut him, he turns to camera, and the blood sprays. A big blood fest. The air pushes the blood through at a high volume.
10 feet, 15 feet.
For about 3 seconds, gushing spray.
Yeah, we soaked both the camera crews last night, so.
And the dolly track and the lights.
We're very happy.
Our job was done well.
All right, guys, here we go. This is not time for final adjustments. We're there.
Roll cameras.
The ship has sailed.
Rolling. Cameras rolling.
Speeding on
Speed on B.
And here we go, and lighting. Ready, and action! Ready, and swing! Go forward, Glenn, go forward, Glenn, go forward. And cut! Okay, bring him out. Guys, clear out, don't come in. Watch the track, guys.
That was exciting. It's coming up. Help him out.
So we do this.
Very nice, Glenn. That was the last burn scene with Glenn Innes, ladies and gentlemen. Very nice.
Good on that
Stuff
one?
burns in the eye. It's worse than actual fire. I'd rather have fire in my eyes than any more of that gel. Not to say that wasn't fun.
So as soon as you gathered your thoughts,
Shower.
shower and then come on back if you need a shower. But
Yeah.
now you're into now we're into mass carrying.
Yeah, okay.
With the exception of helicopters and aerial work, we've basically done the entire gamut of stunts. We have done fire work, we've done car work where we turned over a old Chevy van.
And action.
We have used a tremendous amount of stunt equipment. The wire work has just been phenomenal. I mean, we have sent these guys flying in every conceivable direction. We've had them flying into objects, through walls, upstairs, downstairs. I mean, it's just, you name it, we've done it. It's really been quite an interesting show, stunt-wise.
Second unit was really key in the fight scenes. We had a terrific second unit director, and we had terrific stunt guys on this film, and they held our hands through it.
And you see Freddy flying through the air and hitting a wall, or flying through the sky and landing in Crystal Lake on fire. And boy, we have some great air stunts and some great high falls.
And knowing how much I could do, when you see Freddy flying through the sky on fire, I wish I could lie and tell you that was me, because it looks really cool, but it's not. I mean, that's my stunt double. Great stunt double in this, and Doug's really making me look good.
I really credit the stunt coordinator, though. I mean, we had the idea of the construction set, but I believe that it was his idea to come up with the swinging whatever the hell that is, cement mixer. And it really worked as sort of a, you know, it's like whenever you needed a big knock, here it comes.
We physically put Robert Englund on that and swung him around. And he had a blast. We lowered him down, got him back on his feet, and he was giggling the whole time, so.
You know, I've never worked so hard in my life, and I'm an old dog now. I mean, I surf, and I can do everything once. And you know what happens on a set? Sets are very macho and very male, and you try to get out there. But in the case of this film, I mean, I wore the wire. All the underwater stuff is me. All the water stuff is me.
The challenges here was basically taking a show like this, a show with this size and scope, on the road and doing it here on location in Vancouver. I've had a lot of help from my co-stunt coordinator, Scott Attia, who's just been a tremendous help, helping me find local people, stunt people, talented, were the right size. He's been such a help in that area. And then my stunt rigger, who's been in charge of putting together all my wire work, has been Kurt Bond, who's also from up here. And I've just been totally impressed with his work, with his equipment, and the things we've ended up getting on film. I've been just very, very pleased with.
So Deb, what I'm going to set the ratchet, and I'm going to give you a count. 3, 2, 1, go, and go, I will fire you.
Okay.
Turn around, you behind you, see how everything is behind you?
Right.
The guys are going to hold the mats up like that. I'm going to try to put you right into there, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
So for the
What's
first
the
one,
pressure?
well, we're just going to dial it up. It's turned right down right now, and then we're just going to dial it up. Okay?
Excellent.
Cautionary steps vary upon what type of stunt we're doing. If it's a high fall, then we're bringing in porta-pits, airbags, boxes. With ratchets, what we'll do is when Freddy or Jason or one of their many victims go flying out of frame or to a wall, during rehearsals we'll actually put pads up against the wall and along the floor, and we'll show all the camera guys, exactly how they're going to go and how they're going to fly, and we'll just pull those pads out for the actual take on film, so that way you can actually see them hitting the wall and the impact. Right before you go, 3, 2, 1, go. Just give me a little hop so that you're up in the air. 3, 2, 1, go. So that you're on your way up on go. It just gives you a little bit more of an arc as you fly.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But these first ones, let's just get the pressure down and just get you to the pad, and then we'll start fine-tuning little things like that, all righty?
Okay.
Yeah, just let it go into it, you know? So.
Guys, we're getting ready to rehearse.
Well,
we're going to let it down, right?
All right, Deb, ready?
Yeah, ready.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Ready, guys?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go. Good. Okay?
Yeah, drag.
That's what I meant about the drag.
Yeah. It feels great. More pressure. I like it with more pressure because you get off, you go faster, it's more air, it's all good.
Ready, Deb?
Ready.
Here we go. Ready, Darren?
Hey, Ken, eyeball the top of this tree for me, will you?
Okay.
We were really blessed on this show with Ken Kersinger.
3, 2, 1, go.
Who they've cast as Jason in this episode, who is a very successful stuntman in his own right, which it's just been a tremendous blessing to have a guy with that much head knowledge, who knows when he comes smashing through a wall, he knows what to expect. And other than just making sure his elbows are padded up and stuff, he's ready for it, and he's having a blast.
Oh, Lori, please, wake up! Lori, please, come on, baby. Please. What? Lori, please, come on.
It's all playtime for me.
Are you okay, Jason?
You know, it's such a change because my background is with stunt work and stunt coordinating, and it's very serious business. And coming out and playing Jason as an actor is it's just fun. It's playtime.
He could get in there and get a lot more down and dirty than I could, you know, although I gave my 2 cents worth. I showed no quarter.
Now, let's let it down. Put the ball.
First of all, this thing is too fake, like too poor, like just coming through. You have to have it somehow, you know, make it less like, you know, like okay, it should be brick like this rather than like this. Right. Okay? All right.
He has every shot worked out, and he's so specific about what he wants. I think he has just a really great eye for all these special effects and visual effects and, you know, shots that make things look scary. And, you know, while you're doing it, you just sort of think, oh, okay, this is cool. But I know that he has this master plan to make everything just look amazing.
Boy, come on, wake up, please! Come on, come on, please.
Can you hear it, Jason?
Yeah, I heard it.
Okay, all right.
You need to look.
Yeah,
Okay, fine. As long as you hear it. Good. And then Jason comes through. Jason comes through.
And crash.
Crash. Okay, and cut.
We've got, thank you.
Okay. The flame is not good, and then Ken, your kick is a little bit timid. Okay.
Here we go.
Boy, please, come
Play the camera again for us, please. Play it again.
There's something that clapped out of my foot.
Starts in Freddy's Dream World, Camp Crystal Lake.
Mike? Is that you?
Where Freddy is awakening Jason, and in his sleep, he's always dreaming about what he does, and what he does best, which is kill scantily clad, usually very beautiful camp counselors.
Okay.
You know, Freddy manipulates Jason in his dreams and possesses the mom, or sort of transforms himself into the mom.
Originally it was going to be the counselor morph, and there was a whole big fog sequence that happened that kind of got pared down. But originally we had how many, like close to 9 or 10 different people that would morph and change into different victims of Jason after he's killed the initial counselor. And that was pared down too. To originally, Ronnie I think it just became too long after a while. It's like, how many times can you see this? At first, when we got into post, that whole sequence went on the floor. And we didn't actually pick that sequence up again until
March.
Yeah, March, which we didn't have enough time to really do it as well as we wanted to, or as high a concept as Ariel originally wanted to do it.
You know, the morphs were supposed to quote Ronnie, be really gross. You know, conceptually, we talked about several things. One was a Jacob's Ladder type of transition. You know, so we had our characters, you know, our counselors constantly lolling their head, and we were going to just speed change them, and then, you know, transition that way, with a couple of really gross, bloody beats in between. We wanted the transitions to originate from the wounds. One of the prosthetic effects guys actually had a coroner's list of all of Jason's kills.
Right.
And I think there's like 250 kills or something he's done. And in the coroner's list, it describes who he killed and you know, how Jason killed him. You know, a sharp stick in the eye, you know, a slit throat, you know, a bashed in skull, whatever. So we basically used those lovely thoughts and, you know, had our prosthetics guys essentially put those into play. And, you know, when we shot them, we basically shot everybody, including the main counselor, the lead girl in that sequence, Odessa, I think her name was, all right then and there on that day. Again, originally, you know, in prep, we were like, oh, let's
do this on a green screen day. We'll have more time, be more casual, and it was just like, we got them, let's do it now. And we're like, okay, here we go. And the plates lined up pretty well, and we got a fairly gross beat out of it. So, we did it. Hold on. I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna look at this. This is my tome of crap. That's all my shots. It's all the shots, and I walked around with it every day and tortured people with it, going, "How are we gonna pay for this?" But the blood drops were supposed to be practical blood dripping off of camera, and it was all supposed to be gotten practically, and we're all supposed to, it was supposed to be a little bit of rig removal. The challenge there is that a drop of blood is really small, and not to mention when that blood drops, it drops fast. I mean, it's gone, and it's really tiny. So when we looked at it on the day, we were like, oh my God, we don't see this. We don't see anything. So in classic form, the producers come up to us and say, can we help? And, we know we can.
When we failed to try to do it on the day, then we switched over. It's like, well, let's fall back and we'll try to shoot a green screen element. And we ran into a lot of the same challenges. Is like, how do you get blood that's only so big to read? And so we, second unit, laid out a whole big green screen on when we were shooting, and we ended up getting the prosthetic guys to make this very gross, viscous fluid that ended up basically looking like ketchup, and trying to shoot off speed drops and all these other little elements, and eventually all that went in the floor too, because it didn't work at all. So then we had to fall back once more back to CG. And
yeah, it's funny because it's one of those on the day, I got a great idea. If we're gonna do the CGI, we can do it off speed, and we could have, the blood drop be huge and form out of nowhere, and then, drop super slow motion, and then you get the crown of blood, and you have a great sound beat, and everyone's just like, yeah, let's do that. And then we come home and we're like, I didn't say that. I never said that.
I think even with that, the CG houses struggled with it because it was such a hard thing to get the fluid dynamics to work.
Yeah, I mean, conceptually, from a visual effects standpoint, or just a production standpoint, the rule of thumb is if we can get it on the day, we're gonna get it on the day. If we can't get it on the day, then I'm gonna shoot a live action element, and I'm gonna try real hard to get that live action element. Physically, though, we needed to get blood drops the size of baseballs or grapefruits, and that's big. And so we had big hoses just dropping, essentially like big elephant poops of blood. It was just horrifying. We're like, ah. So we kind of ejected from that. And again, we went to the CG houses, and today with the software that's out there, you can get some really cool fluid dynamics. And I'm sure we've seen, Propel or Gatorade types of commercials where there's fluid dynamics at work. But this was also a little different because we wanted, the blood to be scary, for it to be creepy. And that was pretty much one of our big challenges throughout the whole film. It had to be scary, it had to be creepy, or it had to be gross. We had to play off of one of those things somehow.
Didn't give Ronnie the sense of depth that he wanted to see back into the little girl's head. He almost wanted to be like they were hollow, like her head was almost like a hollow doll's head. And with the prosthetic, you always had something that was there. You couldn't get it black enough or dark enough.
No, it's like, make it bigger. So we just make it gorier. So now we put meat hanging, and it just, we had the amount of detail that's in it is really quite amazing because we painted in, little chunks of inside of the head, which is, meat.
I can find a lot of the discussions quite graphically gross. It's like, ooh, we get into discussions about, is that meaty enough, or is that stuff hanging? Do you want to put more blood?
Here's what we know. At the end of the day, we're going straight to hell for this, and I want to apologize right now, Mom. You know, it's funny because in visual effects, you can do anything for 24 frames, 12 frames, 48 frames, 72 frames. I mean, you can paint 72 frames and make it work. And transitions or in morphs, the slower, the better. You can actually put things in there that the audience will then recognize and go, oh, that's, you know, get a very visceral base of the brain response to. When you're trying to do something that quickly, though, like for a morph, for instance, you have no time to layer that. So it looks almost like a wipe or a smash cut, right? And that was what we were battling there. So in the 9 frames, yeah, we throw in everything. We have the wall cracking, we have geometry pushing out, we have dust flying. I mean, it's just everything we can in 9 frames. Just, I mean, it's the most expensive 9 frames in the movie.
There were a lot of different approaches that were done to it. Like at one point, we had the whole concrete wall breaking and falling into pieces.
We had it exploding, you know, over her, and then we're like, well, nothing's hitting her, and you don't see her hair move. That doesn't work, you know. We had it sort of.
And then we get in arguments. We're like, Ariel, it doesn't matter. It's a dream. It's like, no, that matters.
Exactly. Exactly. That was always the best. Us trying to rationalize any of this is just, oh God, I so need help. Believe it or not, that was an off-speed composite with no motion control, and you know, we actually did the plates by us counting off, you know, seconds, trying to figure out, okay, well, if this is an off-speed move, we need the camera to move at this speed now, and it's one of these things that we know now that there isn't anything we can't do with software, and I just knew it was going to work. You know, I don't know, I'm just a fool, because it was just, I did the math in my head, and it was like, this is going to work. You guys have got to get to point A to point B in 8 seconds, give me a well-lit screen, and you know, Bob's your uncle, everything would be cool. So we first shot the girls at 64 frames a second, and it's pushing forward in, what is that? I think it's pushing forward in 8.
I can't believe you remember this.
8 frames or something, and because it's 2.5 times faster than 24 frames a second, we needed to move the camera faster or slow. Oh no, okay, I remember. I'm a nerd. Okay. Yeah. I think the original movie was at 21 seconds, and because the camera speed was 2.5 times faster, we needed to move at 2.5 times faster at 8 seconds. I mean, we know that we can match things temporally. We know we can make 2 plates just by speed changing digitally. We know that we can make things match, you know, and we know that we can make things match spatially by resizing. We pulled it off. The comp works great. It's again one of those sequences that went through many, many changes. Originally it was supposed to be a claw that comes out and actually grabs Blake and punctures him through his foot. And you know, we looked at doing it practically. We looked at, you know, how we were going to puncture the foot, and you know, we came to the realization, well, wait a minute, if you could puncture the kid's foot, you could puncture the kid's head. So that's not going to work. So now it's like, all right, why don't we just have the shadow claw go up and scare Blake and try to kill Blake? And we shot the plates with a claw in mind. And you know, we shot shadow references, clean plates, all the basic stuff. We had rigs for Blake, the character, actually could look at so we could get the eye lines. And Ronnie didn't want any movement on the chest. We were actually going to hit him with air or something so we'd get some movement. No, you know, nothing that Freddy does can affect Blake. But then when we took it into post and we actually started working with the claw, it was almost completely and totally unimpressive as just a as a claw. At which point we started to go fishing. We searched around. Actually, we were at one house and.
Yeah, we were at one house. We pulled it out. We had our own in-house guy take a stab at it, and eventually we kind of went to an art director named Lubo Christoph, and he kind of redesigned the whole look of it with Ronnie.
And again, one of the things that we did is, aside from modeling Freddy and pulling him across the street and then creating the CG shadows, if you look at him, he's got volume in there. There's stuff moving around. Otherwise, it's a shadow. How do you make a shadow play up against? A shadow can play up against a wall, no problem, as long as the shadow is darker than the object that it's up against. We actually put some fractal stuff in there, and in order to get it to play and actually get it to read, we cheated in highlights so you could see, Freddy's face, for instance. And they did an amazing job putting all that together for us. And the other thing that we did is, as the shadow was coming across the ground, we actually broke the rule that we had originally, which is Freddy can't really affect anything, but we needed to motivate Blake moving. So as Freddy's shadow comes at him, leaves kind of part. Now you can argue, well, those leaves are getting blown by a rogue wind or something, or a breeze or something, but it. Exactly. You just said it's a dream.
Sorry.
Okay.
For nose jobs, what kind of...
Anytime you have a big star, you ever was a little bit trepidatious, and she was as well, and how this all was going to work out. We are right up, I think we're right after lunch, we get to cut her nose off, and it's a big visual effect in that, it required a lot of elements, and it required us actually working very closely with Kelly.
First day of shooting, we're there. We've got the guy with Freddy's glove, and we've got a stand-in to do it because we didn't have Robert Englund on the shoot at that point. So we've got a stunt double in with the glove, and he's very trepidatious about putting these scissor claws up Kelly's nose. And finally, it just comes down to Ariel's like, "I'll do it. Just get out of the way," and we just got to put him up in there. And
yeah, that's right. Actually, yeah, Kelly was okay with it. I mean, I put the things in her nose. I'm like, Kelly, I got to tell you, this isn't going to look good, and it's not going to feel good. But in order for us to get this, I got to do this. And I'm like, Ronnie, is this okay? And she's like, yeah, you go do this. So I, put these scissor claws and these knife claws in Kelly's nose, and I start pulling them out. And I'm like, is this uncomfortable? How far can I pull it? And Catherine Isabel, one of the other female stars, is sitting on the couch next to us and going, "Oh, very nice, Ariel. That's our first day of shooting, and you do that." And I'm like, you know what? I'm killing you next, so you just pipe down, Missy. At any rate, we shot all the elements. We shot her plate of the various plates of her reacting and jerking back. We put the claws in her nose, and we pulled them out, quickly to get the nose to flare and for her to react. And then on another day, we shot a green screen nose. Basically, it was something that our prosthetic guys built for us.
Bill Terazakis built that, cast her face and built her whole nose and designed all the blood stuff in it. And there was a lot of discussion about, well, how should her nose come off? What would they do? Are you slicing it this way, or is it coming off this way?
We definitely wanted a chunk to fly by camera.
Right.
And we definitely wanted blood to squirt out. And so we plumbed this green screen nose, and we lined it up on a switcher and shot it, and then put all the pieces together. And
the guys at Sunnyside put that together, didn't they?
Yeah. Then we remember we needed to shift the blood. We had Tom.
Right, and then we had another guy come in. They wanted to switch shift the timing of the blood to be faster, so we actually even had to find another guy, because at that point Sunnyside had lost their artist who'd actually comp the shot. But I think their biggest challenge in that was the tracking of the prosthetic piece.
The concept originally was that Gib would see the boyfriend, just a hint of the boyfriend, and inside the silo, it's not a silo at all. It turns out to be Freddy's dream world boiler room. And again, conceptually, Gib is supposed to see in the distance Trey standing there and having a conversation, but something looks slightly off. At which point, Gibb's like, you know, Trey, are you okay? And then Trey starts to approach Gibb at an incredible pace, but as he's approaching her, he's supposed to be breaking to pieces because he's already starting to decompose. In prep, you know, which is like the perfect movie, you make a movie 3 times. You make it in prep, right, which is the perfect movie. Nothing has gone wrong, nothing can go wrong. It looks amazing. It's in our heads, but it looks amazing. We make it again in production, where we get out there and things aren't working out right. It starts to piss rain on us and it's not supposed to, or someone doesn't feel good, and then we make it again in post. Well, we got Trey all the way through the production side of it. You know, we shot the elements for him, we actually scanned them. Originally in prep though, we talked about how can we make Trey, you know, break apart and look real, and nothing is better than doing it real. So we talked about literally puppeting the actor, putting him up on a big, you know, crane and, you know, doing sort of a being John Malkovich on him, not allowing him to actually control himself, but we control him. We talked about the potential of actually doing a bunraku deal where we had people from behind in green screen suits move him unrealistically,
Yeah,
and sort
him
of
or a puppet.
Yeah, in a creepy way. The problem is that you know, you think of all these rigs and you try to do all these rigs. The reality of it is that unless we really have an idea of how he's gonna move and where he's gonna move from where to what, you can't really prep it. You can't really do it. And we didn't really have that part of the boiler room set up. We didn't really have everything we need. We didn't have all the knowledge that was required for us to create the rigs to do it practically. At which point we do what we always do, which is fall back on CGI. When we started to bring it into post, though, the movement, it was so, again, so quick. He had to move so fast. I mean, the idea behind Trey was that he was like just a vicious animal, you know? All he cared about, like a rabid dog, all he cared about was getting to his quarry. And he didn't care about how badly he was breaking. All he was gonna do was break, you know, fix, if he broke, he was to fix himself enough so he could take his next step. That was it. But again, every time we ended up trying to put that into play, it never really looked quite right.
One of the other things that I think we fought a lot on was that diminished it, was that the room itself is supposed to telescope backwards. So when Trey comes out, if it's telescoping backwards, he recedes, you know, which is, you know, and you want to get him into your face. So we kind of fought that for a while too. And I was like, can we just come out and not recede the room? And no, we want to have it. We want to see that back. And in the first initial test, when we did that with Tim Clark, it was, your eye goes to watching the room telescope and not so much to Trey, and you're fighting that.
Eventually, we ended up using a combination of both the real live action stuff and some CGI, and it never quite got to the point where anyone would believe it. The real key, again, is to make it visceral. You know, you had to feel the breaks. If any of you guys watch football, you know, there's that very famous sequence where Lawrence Taylor breaks Joe Theismann's ankle. And anyone that's ever seen that and has twisted an ankle just cringes. It's that same response that we wanted. You know, we wanted the breaks to just be vicious, and we want them to feel real. And you know, there's enough footage of people breaking themselves to know what that feels like and looks like. And that's what we were trying to go for. And again, is we ran out of time, and really we ran out of facility resources.
Yeah, the caterpillar, the Freddy pillar.
Let's talk to him about how we almost lost that sequence.
Yeah, at one point it was, you know, CG caterpillar sequence, and you know, at one point the producer came up to us and said, "Listen, you know, we're going over budget. We need to trim some stuff. So, I mean, do we really need this scene, you know, in the movie? Because you know, is there anything we could do? Because we bid it, fairly high, and Cinecide actually was interested in doing character work. And so I knew a lot of the guys there, and they said, yeah, bring it over. We'll cut you a really good deal on it. And that's how they ended up getting the sequence and doing the character work. And you know, I think originally what they wanted to do was close the Cinecide's reel with the Freddy pillar. Unfortunately, the company didn't survive, but
I'll tell you that, I mean, for me, the Freddy pillar is a real, one of those really great moments. I mean, it's an homage to Alice in Wonderland, sort of a bent-up Freddy homage to Alice in Wonderland, and I would have hated to see it not make it in the film, so I remember fighting for it tooth and nail, saying this is something that should really be in the show. The Freddy pillar went, again, like all things, through a bunch of incarnations. Originally it was supposed, as it's written, it starts off as a little caterpillar that as it approaches the very stoned Freeburg, it grows up in size. It gets bigger and bigger to the point where then it pulls out the hookah. But you know, one of the things that we required to have on set was at least a maquette at minimum of what this caterpillar was going to be. And what we really wanted was something that was locked and bought. This is the model, this is what we're doing. If you look at the maquette, you'll see how radically he'd changed. But we started off with something. We started off with the stand-in. You know, we were able to show Freeburg, the eye lines and everything, and this is what he's going to do, and, you know, get used to him. And then when he's actually interacting with the caterpillar, we had WCT create this green screen balloon in the shape of a caterpillar, or just the area of him, so we could actually hold on to something and fight with it, you know. And you know, we ended up removing that green screen balloon and putting in our Freddy pillar. The Freddy pillar itself also went through a lot of incarnations in terms of look and size.
Whether he was wet or dry, or how slimy he really could be. You know, how much Freddy could look like. How much scabs and burns did he have? What could he do with his claws? What could he hold? You know.
Yeah, we really even wanted to put some of Robert Englund's physical signature into it, some of his swagger and the looks that he'd try to do. So we looked at, you know, tape and said, look, this is Robert, this is Freddy, you know. Even though he's in the shape of the caterpillar, you've got to be able to translate that caricature and movement to the caterpillar, you know? And, you know, it was fairly successful.
Pinball Jason was originally designed all we were going to do is do the in-between beats. We would actually shoot Jason, the stunt Jason, hitting the walls, and which is how we did do it. And then we would use CG Jason, and we transition between the beats. Shoot it with the lock off, knowing that we can then do some camera moves on it in post.
Conceptually, again, this is where you know, all the best laid plans just go to waste. We wanted a stuntman to physically hit the pipes, because that contact, again, if you do it right and you do it hard enough, is visceral. You see the pipes shake, even for a brief moment, and you see the stuntman just go through the movements.
Well, we got in over at Pixel and did some animation tests to show Ronnie the difference between, okay, here's what it looks like, you know, we'll transition it. But Ronnie wanted him to go up to the top corner, and we didn't have an actual beat where he actually hit that area, so we kept it all CG. And Ronnie saw it, he's like, oh, that, I like that. That's what I want. And it became like, you want that? So now we have to make all of the beats CG, and he became a full CG character at that point. We replaced all of the wire removals and all the banging, except for the background plate. But what we would fight against is that Jason is so big and heavy that if you start throwing him around really fast, it starts to lose the impact. It gives it away.
By the end of the sequence, when he's going between, you know, the two bumpers, really fast, bing, 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 you're like, oh my God, can't we do this slower, you know? Because there's a big man we're moving. It's like, nope.
It doesn't, story-wise, achieve what the director wants. So.
Yeah, and every single hit. I mean, Jason is a brute. So between the hits, you know, he's just getting madder and madder. So, you know, conceptually, it's, you know, Jason hits the pipe, you know, and he fully breaks. Bam! you know, out of control of his body. And then all of a sudden, you know, as soon as he starts to transition to the next moment, he takes that moment to really just try to tense, and he, you know, turns away and tries to fight it for a minute. And then all of a sudden, you know, he hits the back, bam, you know, and he's just getting, this is how I hurt myself, by the way. That's what we wanted, and we didn't really get it physically on the day, so we ended up using a lot of CG.
Tilt. And dig a little deeper.
It's supposed to be 2 beats. It's supposed to be the knife going into a prosthetic head, a big, bright waft of energy, and then come down into Jason's dream world, which is Crystal Lake. Again, a very Gustave Doré version of Camp Crystal Lake. We get back into post, again, making the movie for the 3rd time, and it's decided that we need that beat back in. But we haven't shot any elements. We didn't shoot blood, we didn't shoot a brain, we didn't shoot meat. So it's like, we're gonna do this, so we do what we always do, which is, you know, we're just gonna do it all CG. Again, you're fighting, how long was that shot? I even forget.
In the end, it was like about 5 seconds.
Which is really quick, but you're building a lot of geometry, and again, you need to establish a lot of elements and have them sell in like no time. So, you know, what Ronnie wanted was, as soon as the blade passes into the brain, you have one beat of black, right? So now we're in this sort of murky red world, and all of a sudden we come across the hemisphere of the brain, and you're supposed to recognize at that moment, this is Jason's brain. And then you're supposed to go into the cleaving meat as it's separating and sinews are popping. And then at that moment, you see electrical charges, like there's some energy that's taking place. What you realize you're doing is you're going from a macro world, or actually the real world, to macro, to micro, to like subatomic, because the next level that we go into after the meat cleaves is the synapses. Once we come out of the synapses into the Schiefer matte painting, we shot, our production designer, John Willett, did an amazing job building a dilapidated version of Jason's house. We put dead bodies and heads all over the place, and we floated some in the water. So we go from the matte painting into Jason's house. And, you know, what does Jason dream? What does he see? And that's what we were trying to show. So he opens up the closet, and in the closet, he sees all his dead bodies that he's killed. Originally, we were supposed to just shoot one plate, one element of a whole bunch of bodies underwater. And it's sort of like what happens in Spinal Tap when they drop Stonehenge, and it's like an 18-inch model. We get there on the day, and there's 3 bodies, and we're like, what are we supposed to do with this? Well, we thought you could cut and paste. It's how? You know, we're not going to do this as, you know, we can't roto them, so we got to do underwater green screen. Of course, we weren't really prepared to do underwater green screen, but our second unit DP, Rob McLaughlin, who is heroic, got in the water, figured it out, lit the green screens, and we essentially did a cut and paste and clone with a bunch of bodies, and I think it works. Originally, we wanted to go into the closet, literally turn around from underwater, you know, in the closet, go back to Jason, and now see Jason underwater, but not Jason as Jason, but Jason as a little kid sitting there screaming, because that's how he
struggling
dies.
on the water.
Yeah, and that's his nightmare.
When we were shooting the actual plate with Jason opening the closet door, we thought, well, it'd just be a nice lock off, you know, and Jason opens the door, but it became this huge telescoping crane shot that moves in there.
And what's hilarious about it is when we hear this, you know, Kevin calls me, he's like, Ariel, oh my God, you gotta come here and see the move. And I'm like, what? What? He's like, just get over to the stage and you gotta look at the move. And I come over to the move, I'm like, oh my God, how are we gonna deal with this? I'm like, okay, think. We gotta put tracking markers on that screen. We got a couple edges here we could work with. You gotta take copious notes, guys, and tell me what the move is. And we were able to reproduce the camera, but a lot of it was just, pixel pounding.
Yeah,
just taking the pixels and just pounding them into the dirt until it works. And I'm like, come on, it's a simple gag, we shoot a plate. And Kim's like, no, get the motion control rigs out there, we'll get a person mover. It ended up being, how many elements were in that?
God, like four or five different passes.
Yeah.
And the trick was, because we did put him on Robert on our people mover, and Ariel called this out right away. It's like, his head's just gonna do this, it's gonna look like it's on a machine.
Which it did.
And it did.
We didn't have any of the wagga that would occur if someone was holding a head, and a head is a heavy thing. Maybe not mine, but most heads are. And so then we also shot another plate, again with motion control rig, but without Robert, with Jason just holding a prosthetic head. And that's got all that natural swing and movement. So we just married the two plates. We married the head with Robert Englund. And then, because we didn't have a background, it was all shot on green screen, we put in the fog, and the house that did that shot, Digital Dimension, even went as far as to putting a little taste of the water in. And again, it's one of those things that no one's gonna notice, but I do. I see that water a mile away, I'm like, yes,
I think the most important thing is to find the look, of that. How do you make a dream world? Not like so dreamy that it become like a fairy tale or fantasy, because yet it has to be scary, it has to be eerie, and yet in the real world you still have to be eerie and scary, but you have a different look. You have the realistic look.
In order to separate dream world from reality, we've actually made it reasonably obvious in most instances. In places like Freddy's hell, you're instantly aware that it's a completely outlandish place to be, and the same with Jason's dream world. These are places that couldn't exist anywhere.
So I was lucky to have Fred Murphy and the art director, John Willett, and everybody work so closely together, and the visual effect people sort of find that balance, So we use a lot of color, different color, a lot of primary color, like deep red, deep blue, deep green on the dream world.
When the nightmare parts happen in what we call a real environment, like one of the houses, then we've treated it filmically as different. We've played with lighting, with bleach passing, with all sorts of things like that in order to make it a bit more subtle.
Robert? Yeah. Tilt your hat back just like
Freddy Elvis Krueger. Here we go, and roll sound now. Rolling. B marker. And set. Right. And action.
The boiler room is an interesting set. It's Freddy's nightmare world, and what I've done there is modeled that set after a city called Kowloon in China, where it was a city that developed over the years without any regard to building code or anything else. And all of the cable and the plumbing and the wire and electrical were all just sort of hung on walls, and they would drape down hallways and into rooms, and it was quite outlandish. So the set was an existing boiler room, and we've added tons and tons and tons of cable and wire and boilers and all sorts of mechanical and electrical stuff, so that it's absolutely crazy in there, and then painted everything with 5 different coats of paint in the sort of rust and fire range, so that when the light hits it, it has this very deep texture to it.
That's a good one there. That's great.
Penny for your thoughts, Chief.
Hey, Robert, does he want me to grab him and start that move? You know, when I turn him around?
Yeah, up here, right? Yeah. And Jason's like painful like this. And then his hand, this hand, actually, without you knowing it, is pulling out the machete. And this hand, you push me, like rather than turn around. Yeah. No, you just push my hand, almost like slice my, decapitate me. I see. You know, like, yeah.
Well, I think that the film needed this look, because the look of the film has this sort of graphic novel look to it. You know, the whole way it's stylized is because of a contribution between Ronnie and Fred Murphy, the cinematographer.
Okay, we have speed. Hang on, pull this slate up. So rolling. Here we go. And action.
I'm still too far out.
You gotta come closer.
All right.
Action.
Penny for your thoughts, Chief.
Okay. All right, I thought we were gonna catch his dialogue, his improv dialogue at the end. So do you want it? Set and action.
Penny for your thoughts, Chief. Oh, scary.
Okay, we've cut. Thank you very much.
Okay, that was much better. Okay, that was our first really
Roll
good
again.
one.
Here we go.
Let's try
And
one
roll
more.
the sound, please.
What's interesting about the production design on this movie is that we have decided to not treat it like a normal horror film. We've decided that we actually want to make all the sets and the costumes and everything else very real, so that when scary stuff happens, you're really not expecting it at all.
But when he falls,
when he falls, it's still not green.
With Jason's dream world, to differentiate it from anything else, I've used watercolors, because that's his secret fear.
We're gonna have like, he hit, right? He hit, he fell.
Right.
And then we have, the second unit have a shot of the bursting. Right? Oh, that should be sort of red, yeah? So when we cut back to Freddy getting up, it's green, right?
Okay.
What did he see? We can just jump back.
you see him through the water.
Yeah. Right?
And then
And then through the water.
Reverse again.
Reverse, you see Jason come up. Boom! Looks up.
Through the waterfall.
Through the water, right. Come down, and then go back to Freddy. We can clear. And Freddy's eyes go. Fantastic. You can shoot reverse magazine, and then have Robert try to walk backwards.
Like I'm walking out of it.
You know what I mean? To shut off. No,
So he's dry.
It's dry. So it's like
There you go.
It's like the water sort of like pot.
Yeah, but the water will be going up.
Yeah, gone, and then as it goes.
yeah.
So we have to time this, but try a couple
Yeah, I
times.
have to like, yeah.
Yeah.
It would be like.
So we do this from the side.
Yeah, from the side.
Okay.
Okay? Let's put some dust on him. Let's put some dust on him. He just came up from that boiler.
135 Utah, take one.
Mark.
Hailing mark.
And set.
Action again.
Come on!
Good.
I swung the machete at the water, made contact with water.
Exactly. Good. And then you try again. It's
Yeah.
great.
Okay, good.
And then try again, and then sort of like
You want 3 times?
two times. And when I said lower, really low, lower down to like non-threatening
Okay.
pulse. Okay. Let's try again. 10.
Ken, come here for a second. See this?
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't right. There you go. No. It's just the chin thing was bad. Go again.
So there is something you're afraid of after all.
The most fun I've had in the sets on this movie would be split between, I think, Jason's world and Freddy's world, because they truly are nightmarish environments, and they're the kind of fun stuff that make it quite unique visually. There is a big exterior wherein I've built a house that's at 45 degrees and sunk into the swamp, and there are around it all sorts of heads and arms trying to get out of the ground.
So the other one was.
So we got a total of 3.
Okay, so we're there.
One
Okay.
here plus 2.
Okay, can we just
Keep an eye line open for Daisy.
You guys have to.
John Willett?
Yeah.
What do you want to eat?
One sec, we're just gonna figure that out now. Yeah, how far do you think you want him to walk? And that will determine how far we put the platform. You could either have him come around this way or from shore. It seems, I guess, like he's got to come from shore, because why would he walk around the back? So, but you're not gonna want to have him walking all that way, because that'll just be. Let's go straight back from where we are, more or less. And that gives us a 3/4 onto it for start, okay?
So Charles, we're gonna need about 30 feet of platform.
30 feet, eh? So it's all shallow waterway. So no matter how far it goes. Right?
No, well, it does. No, he's on a steel platform. We'll just extend the steel platform, but it does get deeper. But
what you suggest, the light come from is on there.
it could be that dormer window
Okay,
there.
the
Yeah.
dormer window. Okay. So we have to put back through it like this, and how?
What we could do is put a white bounce in the back and then just hit something like that, and it'll pop through.
And before we go, what we'll do is let these guys see the back of it so they can see their access.
What do you think of the mud, John?
What did we do? Well, I think the mud's going to be fucking brilliant. I love the mud. What it's going to need is a lot more greens, obviously, but that's a great base.
Well, we got lots more to dress it. We just,
Oh, no, I know. As I said, this isn't dress. This is just a base.
No, I'm waiting for you. We've been waiting for you.
Yeah.
Oh, no, wait, that's right. That's enough. Got enough. My math isn't very good early in the morning.
What do you think, Fern?
Boon's not happy today. Boon's spirit is bruised.
Get that? 3 rings?
Yeah.
You got 15 minutes.
This movie, as with most movies, the set construction, if it's carried out correctly, that about 20 minutes after the director yells cut, the whole set will fall apart, because that means that we haven't wasted one nail or one piece of wood in order to achieve the scenery. On a couple of instances, we actually have very, very big fires, and you can't use burnable materials, believe it or not, when you're staging a fire, because then take 2 becomes a bit of a problem. So what we've done is things like the dock, which you'll see in major fire near the end of the movie, it's actually made of steel and a product called hardy board, which is inflammable, or flammable. That's always a funny one in English. And it's all piped with propane pipes, so we can control the fire all the time. And that way we could use it as many times as we wish without risking the whole thing burning up. This film is different than others I've worked on because A, it's a big horror film, and I haven't done a lot of those. I've done similar things like Halloween H2O and Final Destination, but this is the first true sort of slasher horror movie I've done. So it's very different and challenging, because in order to make it interesting, you have to do something different, and how to separate it has been the fun part.
Okay, guys, no plate on that. We'll go again. Here we go.
There's so many different talents that are involved in making this all happen. Generally, I'll read the script and can visualize what we're about to design. I'll do a rough sketch and then pass it on to the art department and have a meeting with them and discuss exactly what we'll be designing. The demon makeup is based on we basically took the original sculpture that I did of Freddy Krueger's makeup and took another life cast of Robert and we built a muscle, an enhanced muscle over top of his face. And then we took the skin out of the original Freddy mold and we're able to drape and blend that over top of the new muscle to give him more of a brutish, beefed up look.
Sometimes Freddy gets really pissed and he mutates just for a second. So a little bit of help from CGI, but the makeup that fans will be seeing is actually a practical makeup. But whenever I did that, I had to have different eye makeup, contact lenses, different teeth, more fragile teeth.
What's the matter, Laurie? This your wake-up call. Great. Cut. One more. So, Robert,
yeah.
landing.
We've cut, thank you. Let's, guys,
go higher.
Okay. Service, and let's walk it up there.
Mark. Ceiling mark.
11 frames. And set. And action, Alan. And background. Get around him, kid.
And then you turn around and see your face.
So I should be in shorts and a little counselor's t-shirt.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
And she's
Yeah, and then just turn around, the bitch is dead on her feet.
Yeah. But make sure you turn it around more so I can see the dead feet.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'll show her off.
Almost every script involves something that will require us to build, whether it's a duplicate of an actor or an animal or a cut. Usually every film deals with makeup effects in some way. The biggest challenge is the amount of time that we have to build a specific gag. We try not to limit it to that one function. So many things can happen on set where the director might all of a sudden think of something that wasn't necessarily scripted, and we have to be on hand to bring his vision to life. So as long as we can finish it in time to have time to prepare for tests, then we can usually work out all the bugs by then.
Okay, everybody say cheese.
Cheese!
For Freddy's makeup, we're using foam latex, which has been the norm for many, many years. It's durable, so there's a lot of scenes where Robert's in the water or near water.
It's evolved over the years. Now it's they wouldn't have been able to do a single piece this large a couple of years ago because the foam latex wasn't as strong or as fine. And I'm not sure if all of this is lined, Patricia, with a nylon.
We removed that, and then the rest would be the back of the head.
And it's lined with.
It's like a stocking material.
Yeah, it's like a nylon, which is also a new addition to the.
Just to help for the pullover, because you have to pull over the head and the movement of the neck.
We would have never been able to do that before. It would have stretched the piece.
We will pre-paint all of our pieces here in the shop. We'll have as many as 12 masks going at the same time. Once they're completed, we send them off the set. In the case of Freddy's makeup, they're applied by Margaret and Patricia. They carefully glue the piece down to Robert's face. Every millimeter of skin that he has adhesive put on it, so the skin is very, very form-fitting.
The foam latex actually breathes itself. It's porous by nature. But if I work outside, strangely enough, it gets really hot inside the makeup because the sun is overhead, the heat source is overhead. When I'm working on a sound stage, or if I'm working inside, lighting is generally from the side, and I never feel like I'm hot. It's great in cold weather, the makeup, because I'm warmer than my ears are warm. When we're on, because we were on Jason's turf on this film, we were out at his lake a lot, and it was cold, and I was fine because my ears were covered.
And then once it's put on, after a 3-hour process for application and another hour for removal, we bulletproof the whole thing with a sealer, And a lot of the maintenance is carried through by the makeup artist, and also Robert being aware that he has a foreign material on his face, and he's very good with the material, and he doesn't eat greasy pieces of chicken while he's wearing it, or corn on the cob, or he takes very good care of his makeup.
Go ahead, tell him, Bill. Keep the cameras on. Tell him what you just picked off me. Some Lint Eastwood.
He had some Lint Eastwood on him.
I always believe that in a scary movie, you got to have humor there. So loosen up the audience, and then you hit them with another scare.
Freddy and Jason are pop horror icons. They've been around our culture for almost 20 years, and each of them has become a symbol of all those things that collectively we as teenagers and then as adults are afraid of, so that they are the sum total of our current pop boogeymen.
This was always in the air, the two biggest boogeymen in town.
Well, this concept is not new, and I think New Line took it and said, let's do the contemporary version of the meeting of two ultra villains.
Freddy versus Jason is something that it's an idea that I came up with, putting the two of them together almost 10 years ago.
Paramount did at one point approach us, or we approached them with the idea of trying to do something, and they basically wanted what we wanted. They wanted us to license them the rights to Freddy Krueger and to go off and really make their movie, which we were not anxious to do. So eventually Paramount lost whatever rights they had, and Sean Cunningham, who has been a friend of mine for a long time, approached us and asked us if this was something that we wanted to do.
At the very beginning, I said, gee, this could really be a good idea, but now that it's all come together and I finally get to see it, I say, this is a great idea. It really works well.
The idea kind of languished because it was difficult to find a production executive within New Line, up to and including our head of production at that time, who really cared a lot about it. When we changed our head of production, we renewed this imperative to Toby Emmerich that we got to find someone who's going to get behind this, and came up with a somewhat unlikely candidate, but we had this wonderful woman, Stokely Chapin, who likes the genre and could really jump in.
I had worked with a producer before and produced I Know What You Did Last Summer, and so I loved horror movies, and I always felt that they were, sort of a way to always find an audience, and that people are always going to love these movies. And 7 years ago, I heard the idea, and I was like, genius! Like, that's perfect! Like, what a great event picture. And then 7 years went by, and by coincidence, and I'd always wanted to work at New Line, but they called and I came over, and then I got Freddy vs. Jason as a project, and to me it was just meant to be.
Well, I've sort of been in bed with Freddy vs. Jason since 2000, since the millennium. I think I was sort of made my deal back then, and we've gone through several directors and several incarnations on the script.
We were somewhat stymied by trying to get a script together that really kind of made some sort of quality narrative sense. And that's what held us back even after we had all of these sort of two characters in place.
There had been a million drafts before. I mean, literally, I think 17, done by 12 writers.
70% of them probably were rewrites on the same story that all involved this cult called the Fredheads. And then Jason gets resurrected through his heart being thrown into a lake. So most of them were with that same storyline with a girl named Lizzie.
I was on a plane about 2 glasses of wine down last year, flying to London, and I met one of the executive producers of one of my favorite shows on television, King of the Hill, and he'd even done a draft of Freddy versus Jason, and he told me all of his gossip and his take on it.
We worked on another project for New Line, and they brought us in to kind of pitch our take. And I knew that it had been in development for like 10 years, so we just came at it a little bit differently, I think, than the rest of the people We didn't really change the histories of the characters and that kind of things. So we wanted to take both histories and both characters as they were in the movies and then start from there.
Yeah, exactly.
That was sort of, our original take.
Keep it all intact. Make it all count. Don't discount all the other movies, and the fans will love you for it.
And so, fortunately, there was a treatment done that had basically the sketched out story of what the movie is. That's the one done by Shannon and Swift. And when I started, I sort of read the treatment and thought, there's some problems here, but it looks pretty good. Let's see what we get when the script comes in. So we got a really good script in. It was overly long and overly complicated and very, very dense. And so we timed the script, came in at 2 hours, 28 minutes, and we're like, this may be the American Beauty of horror films, but it's not American Beauty, and it probably shouldn't be 2.5 hours long. So David Goyer came in, and what he did honestly was collapse everything good that was in it, and making scenes that were 3 scenes before into 1 scene. And when you do that, that 1 scene becomes a lot more dramatic and a lot more interesting.
And the goal was obviously just to make the film as short as possible. And the task that he had was, to make it, to cut it down without really losing any of the scenes. So a lot of the dialogue wound up getting changed. And he, I think he combined 2 characters at one point. And did a good job of keeping it short, but without losing the story.
I got involved to the extent of reading scripts as they were developed, interviewing directors that Stokely had previously vetted and brought to Toby and I.
I had made the sort of foolish, proposition to every agency that anybody who wanted to come in and meet, I would take the meeting with. So I probably took 60 meetings with directors of all kinds, from music video directors, commercial directors, people who'd made, 1 feature or a short, or everybody. And first, of course, we put together our top list of 5 or 6 people. Ronnie Yu was on that list. We went to him and he passed. I was like, okay, I expected that. We went to, Wes Craven, and, the sort of like the top people in sort of making horror films.
There was a problem in finding somebody who was good and had the enthusiasm for it, in the same way that we had trouble finding a production executive to administer the project.
What was hard to find is there were people who loved the characters, who knew everything about them and had seen every movie 15 times, but didn't have the experience. And then there were people who had more experience, but kind of were like, oh yeah, I think I saw one back in the theater way back when. And we were like, what are you doing here? Like, why would you want to take this on if you don't care about these characters?
Then she approached Ronnie, his agent again. Is it possible that he might want to revisit this whole thing?
So we got him on the phone, and I kind of thought it was a lost cause, because I just expected him to say, thanks so much, for your interest, I really appreciate it, but no. And he was open to it, and we could tell, and so we kind of like kept reeling him in a little bit and said, well, why don't you just come here for a meeting and we can talk about it further? And he said, okay, and we're like, oh my God, he said, okay, he's gonna come.
And then Stokely brought me, I saw the 2 films that she suggested I see that would give me some feeling about the guy, which was The Bride with White Hair and the Chucky, Bride of Chucky, I guess. I was into brides. And I thought that they were quite well done, and the idea of having a Asian point of view and Asian style seemed to me to offer the possibility of bringing a new approach to a horror film than some of the more matter-of-fact, straightforward horror director.
When I was in Hong Kong, growing up in Hong Kong, and I watched a lot of those old on TV, old Hollywood monster movie, like the horror movie, like Vampire and Frankenstein versus Wolfman, or the Swamp Things, all that. And I just thought, this movie has to go back to the basic, because we see so many of this like CGI movie now. And one thing that keep in my mind when I'm shooting this movie is the film called Rocky. When I first saw the Rocky, the scene that really hit me is the scene at the end, the final fight, when Apollo beat the crap out of Rocky, but Rocky had the spirit to fight back. Even though his eyes all swollen and all that, he tell the trainer, cut it open. And that moment, like, I go, ooh, And then actually they cut it open and the blood just spurts out, And that for me is raw. It's raw. You know, it's not like all this, now you have all this wire work, now everybody is copying everybody, like, you know, jumping everywhere, flying everywhere. So I said, oh, now you have these two monsters together now in a ring. It's almost like a WWF thing, you know, wrestler thing. So I said, I should go back to that rawness, you know, to that, like I said, tearing your eyes out, tearing your livers out, you know, damage your kidney, you know, and then the machete chopping your heads off, chopping the fingers off, you know, that's all rawness, you know. I think, and less of those like quick cut. So usually now, because every time we get to an action sequence, it's quick cut, 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 cut. First of all, you don't know where they are, and then you lose the dynamic. So this time I just put a camera there. I told the second unit director, I said, just put a camera there and let them chop each other out. Like in a chopping board, you know, go, 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 and then blood going everywhere, you know.
When we started production, the movie began and ended in hell.
Hell was always a little scary because hell always looks cheesy.
Yeah.
So we always want to describe it as sort of a dark place, not with fire and all that kind of stuff.
In a very Milton-esque hell. Not the fire and brimstone, but darkness, cold, depressing darkness.
Actually, an ending that nobody knows about was an ending that Ronnie was talking about, which was having a giant hand come out of the lake and grab Freddy and Jason and pull them both down.
Some huge catastrophic event occurs that causes Crystal Lake to drain. And it was supposed to be geysers of water, and the water is supposed to turn into blood. And, you know, we even went as far as saying, you know, there should be a big fist of water that just grabs Jason and Freddy and pulls them down, you know.
And I mean, I saw like sketches on it and everything. I mean, it looked totally insane. And I don't know if it would have worked, but it would have been nuts.
It's a giant sort of satanic hand that pulls them back.
I remember just going, how are we going to do that? And I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, you called me up and said, how much will it cost to do a CG water fist that grabs our actors? And it's like, you don't even want to know.
But I mean, you know, if that hand doesn't look so good, you're in trouble.
But I thought it would have been cool. I don't care how much it costs. I just want to do it. And it was supposed to drag them and pull them into this great abyss. And you were going to get the great shot of them, you know, disappearing in this bloody, dark abyss. And then the New Age dawn occurs, and you see Will and Laurie walking across the dry lake bed. And Laurie's father finds the glove and picks up the glove and says, I'm going to get rid of this once and for all, at which point a hand reaches up, grabs the dad, pulls him into the lake bed, and disappears. You cut and you see Will and Laurie go, oh my God, and then you cut to darkness. A hand reaches up and pulls the glove out of the blackness and puts it on. You know, you cut to Freddy's face, you know, going, and very happy that he's got the glove. And then you see him look up with a little bit of terror in his eyes as you see a glint catch off the machete, right? And you see Jason charge towards Freddy. And then you realize, you pull back, then you realize that he's surrounded by all these demons. In effect, Freddy and Jason have turned into these gladiators that will fight perpetually now in hell.
Right.
And the devil's presiding on a giant
throne. I think
throne.
we had a cameo by Satan at one point, but that never really works. So we dumped that.
Here we go. Rehearsing now, and action!
Oh.
Let's start again. Okay. Let's go back to one second.
I give him time to get that out.
No, that thing stays in there all the time.
Okay.
And that's why you don't.
Like I'm trying to.
Action. Chuck him. Chuck the punch.
2, 3.
Thanks for the sound effects, bro.
Whoa! Make it work somehow, okay?
I'm not kidding.
it a couple times. Maybe on the third one or something, you change it. You see, there you go. And then like that. So then when he grabs it, it goes whoa off like that. Okay.
168, take one. A marker.
B marker.
Crapless. Oh, thanks.
And set. And action! Shit.
Life in that situation now. You just saved their life, right? On action, it's like, and then, right? Like that. You know, otherwise, like, okay? So everybody,
Yeah, just gotta swipe them hard.
okay. I mean, it has to be like that. And then you pick this up, and you go, fuck. Imagine you are trying to save that to wounded person. All right? It's not like just, you know? You got every single one, you got the damage. Every single one. It's not like this, you're just doing the motion. Okay?
Hit them hard.
Make it believable.
Yeah. Make it believable. It's
Big energy, guys. Here we go. And action!
B marker.
Yeah, she knows. She knows. Go again. Here we go. Here we go. And roll the sound, please.
168 Apple, take 4. A mark.
B marker.
Set. And action! Good cut. Check the gate, guys.
I told you didn't I? When I get on stage, you know, you just know the song. But here you have to know the lines, you have to actually act it out, make it believable, and it's kind of different and yet the same. I actually enjoy both.
And then all this like fire everywhere, right? And
Fire
then Lindemann
debris.
said, get out of here, right? And then you go, remember? You're limping out?
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
like that.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Both are too short. Right, tight on that. Okay, so like track, she crawl, with
crawls
track, debris come, right? And then they leave.
And then, ladies and gentlemen, do you want to, as they start to come, do you want to do a little?
You want to go back
Yeah,
and
yeah.
maybe
A little
drive
bit of
into
crawling out.
and drive into some flames or something? Have some flames over here. We
Sure.
can go
Yeah.
drive
Yeah.
into some flames.
When debris.
No, you quite
How about a dead body falling into the floor?
Yeah, Julian! What was that just now, eh?
That was me falling.
Take 1.
Mark.
A mark.
B mark.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Okay? Get back. Get started. Here we go. And very painful. And action.
Lindemann. Lori! Come on. Oh, shit. Let's go. Hurry, we gotta hurry.
Go on.
Gotta hurry.
Oh, shit.
Come on.
God save us, guys.
Oh. They got pictures of this. Oh, I hate pictures.
Yes, very good.
Don't you hate pictures? When you gotta look like this? Take one more.
Stars goes on the set of the ultimate heavyweight matchup of the summer, Freddy versus Jason.
Ready for your thoughts, Chief?
Notice who gets top billing for the 8th installment of a great Nightmare on Elm Street film. This time I'm meeting my match with Jason Voorhees.
Jason is obviously much bigger, much stronger than Freddy, but Freddy is much smarter than Jason.
These two giants of the horror movie world going head to head.
Welcome to my nightmare.
I was so excited that these two guys that have both scared the hell out of me are fighting each other. And I'm here, I'm in the middle of it.
Freddy versus Jason is something that it's an idea that I came up with putting the two of them together almost 10 years ago. I said, gee, this could really be a good idea, but now that it's all come together and I finally get to see it, I say, this is a great idea.
This is the ultimate, roller coaster ride and the popcorn movie.
Don't worry about my little errand boy. The only thing to fear is fear himself.
And this is sort of going back to the original frightening, scary demon horror movies that is kind of more of a serious take on the horror movies, the way they were intended. There was this man, but he was more like a monster, really. And they kept calling him Freddy, and he was so real.
1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. You know why they sing that? Because that's when they come for you. In your dreams. You're lucky to be alive.
Who is he?
He's a child murderer that some parents from around here burned alive. Then he came back for revenge in our nightmares.
Freddy needs to install fear into his potential victims, the children, the relatives, the offspring of the original vigilante parents that burned him and sent Freddy into his sort of nebulous purgatory where he dwells and plots his revenge.
What happened?
I don't know. I don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody saw what happened, and the police have been acting really weird, like they know something, and I heard them mention some name, Freddy Krueger.
So I use Jason, who inhabits the real world, to begin a reign of terror so that everybody can get their fear festering again so that I can exploit it later.
There's a bunch of kids who get stuck in the middle and try to get out or try to fight them.
We have to muster up our strength and our gumption, and we get in there and we fight these two terrible killers.
Get real. You're not even scary. And what's with the butter knives?
And then it soon becomes a competition. It soon becomes, Jason, trying to kill people, and just killing them, not even realizing that Freddy's trying to kill them.
Freddy also learned that Jason is not stoppable. He thought he can stop Jason. So finally they said, okay, now I have to face off with this monster.
I'm afraid of you. Now that we're in the real world, huh?
There's the dramatic question is who's tougher, because neither one of them has ever been able to be defeated.
I'd have to say Jason is tougher, just because he's just humongous. And Freddy is a little more creative and smarter and sort of more weaselly and quicker.
At least Freddy sort of plays with you a bit and would make your death maybe a little more interesting. Like if you have to die by the hands of one of them, Freddy would probably be a more interesting tale to tell in heaven than with Jason, who would just cut your head off in a second.
This isn't my home. This is Jason's home. You're supposed to visit me in my home, in the boiler room, where I'm strong.
In a dream world, anything goes. Anything Freddy can think of, it become a weapon. It become a killing situation. But in the real world, Freddy is the underdog. Now, Jason has the upper hand.
We've actually been sworn to secrecy, by New Line Cinema here, but I'll say this is my pat thing. Freddy takes a licking, but he keeps on clicking. All right.
He holds up, let me tell you. He takes a good beating, but so does Jason. So, you just have to wait and see where those end up.
Why won't you die?
The reason that Freddy, I think, is so terrifying after all these years is that what he does is he goes in and takes something that you're afraid of, and he makes it whole, he makes it his own, and he exploits that fear.
Not strong enough yet. I will be soon enough. Until then,
I'll let Jason have some fun.
I don't think anybody in this world can play Freddy Krueger except Robert Englund.
Both of you need to take that first step at the same time on action. Step. Right?
He's so magical, and he's just so creative, and he figures out all these kinds of ways to just make Freddy more interesting, whether it's grabbing your face a certain way or even like the angles. He's just so technical.
To watch Robert Englund on set is such an amazing thing because this is a character he's been playing for 20 years, you know, so he knows it so well. And he's got such a great, you know, enthusiasm for it too, you know. He's really like genuinely excited to be a part of it, even after all these years. It's infectious.
We're having fun doing it. It's a lot of fun working with Robert. I gotta tell you, it's hard to get your motivation when he's being so nice all the time. I have to tell him to stop that.
My motivation's the 4 hours it takes to put this on.
Yes.
You know, and also the fact that, you know, he gets in my light all the time. And as you can well imagine, it's like working with a sequoia.
Jason can come out as a faceless, mindless source of death and just snatch your life away from you for no rhyme or reason.
Jason's just sort of a little misguided. I like to call him a psycho savant. He's, you know, he's just sort of following a mandate, you know, kill all those bad kids.
Freddy in this movie refers a lot to, you know, he's like, you got no style. And I think he's wrong, honestly. I think Jason does have a big style. You know, maybe it's not as cool or as, you know, Freddy's got the little Michael Jackson hat going on.
Okay. It's very bloody. I have to get used to wearing a lot of fake blood all the time.
The fact that it's a scary movie kind of freaked me out because I never watch scary movies. I'm terrified of scary movies.
Freddy!
The choice of Ronnie Yu to direct the film, given the fact that he is not American and that he comes from a very different background than Wes or I or the other people who have done the Friday and Freddy movies, I think it was a really good one. I think we're taking the whole visual sense of this movie to a brand new level.
Okay, let's go. And I go back to the first original Friday 13 and the first original Nightmare. You know, I said, oh, this is the key. So from then on, so I'm so like a samurai, like, you know, my vision is like a samurai. Okay, this is it. This is the only way to make this movie. Very good, thank you, gentlemen. Break. We all think alike.
Ronnie sees the whole story almost like a great comic book, like a Batman versus Superman, a great comic book, you know, with that classic graphic illustration storyboard sense to it. So it's like flipping the pages of some great giant coffee table comic that you've never seen before, where they've combined these two arch villains.
I never have like proper like cinema school training. When I was little, I read a lot of comic books. Everything for me is visual. It's like painting, it's like photograph and all that, you know. So it's like every time when I see a scene, I see pictures, I see color, I see all that, you know. So when I start a movie, I like to draw.
Right,
this, isn't it?
fire.
Okay, it's approaching this. And then we have a side shot.
He just has these very interesting ways of shooting things, and a lot of things are in slow motion. He does so many little camera tricks and so many little things that, like, I'm kind of only half aware of while we're shooting them.
He brings a whole nother layer to this thing with his Hong Kong Chinese film background. I think folks are going to be in for a surprise on this one. He's added a whole new flavor to the look, the style, even the acting.
I just want to make sure that there's enough blood there to satisfy the horror audience.
Every scene is so intricate, there's so many angles to cover, and since there's so many characters in the script and just this huge ensemble cast, you gotta cover everything, you gotta get everybody's reactions to everything, so it's, you know, around the clock working.
It's all playtime for me. I mean, you know, it's such a change because my background is with stunt work.
It's just been a tremendous blessing to have a guy with that much head knowledge, who knows when he comes smashing through a wall, he knows what to expect. He's ready for it, and he's happy to be doing it. He's having a blast.
did my own water stuff in this, and you know, some of the fight stuff. But you know, when you see Freddy flying to the air and hitting a wall, or flying through the sky and landing in Crystal Lake on fire, and things like that, you know, believe me, it's not me.
We have done firework. We had Jason fully engulfed in flames over a 3-day period.
And here I'm burning. And you can see right here, I'm burning. And here I'm on fire.
The wire work has just been phenomenal. I mean, we have sent these guys flying in every conceivable direction. We've had them flying into objects, through walls, upstairs, downstairs. I mean, it's just, you name it, we've done it.
I directed a very different kind of movie 120 years ago, or whatever it was. And that was a very sort of minimalist, tiniest little story that we could do. And now we have a full-blown studio picture with all of the bells and whistles and all of the things that make a major action picture.
And that's what Freddy versus Jason is. It starts and it never stops. It's just go, 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 go all the time.
There's new things revealed. There's the action is bigger and better than any of the other movies,
Yeah.
and it's definitely going to be a thrill ride for the fans. They're really going to enjoy it.
People just love the fact that they're two of the worst villains in horror history ever, and the fact that they're gonna square off.
Place your bets.
It's like the clash of the titans, and you know, someone's got to win. They each have this following. It's like the Ultimate Warrior versus Hulk Hogan.
It's like a really awesome action movie at the same time as being a cult flick horror movie.
Let's go. Wait. Look.
Come to Freddy.
These are my children, Jason. Go back where you belong!
Lots of blood, lots of fears, lots of screams.
Freddy and Jason are pop horror icons. They've been around our culture for almost 20 years, and each of them has become a symbol of all those things that collectively we as teenagers and then as adults are afraid of, so that they are the sum total of our current pop boogeymen.
Freddy versus Jason, in theaters August 15th.
Freddy owns Jason. Freddy rides around on Jason. Maybe Freddy beats Jason to a pulp. I know what my fans want, and I know what they're gonna get. And that is they're gonna see the #1 monster of all time. As for his fans, I don't know, what, 10, 11 of them? The hell with them. I'll tell you though, I'd rather wrestle this guy again than have to get in the ring with little Chucky the Puppet Boy or Mike Myers. What is that, Mike Myers? Is he a mime? I've never figured that out.